You are marching in a column that is 10 kilometers long, 20,000 people, 3 entire Roman legions. And the officer riding beside your general? A Roman citizen, Roman educated, decorated by Rome itself, has already decided that every single one of you dies in this forest. Your general calls him a friend. Rome kept its legion numbers alive for 1,000 years, except 3. The 17th, the 18th, the 19th. After what happens over the next 3 days, those numbers will never be spoken again. This is what happened to them, and tonight, you are marching in their ranks. It is September, in the 9th year of our era. You are a soldier of the 19th Legion, somewhere in Germania, east of the Rhine. The summer campaign season is over, and the army is heading back toward winter quarters. You have done this march before. You know the rhythm of it. The creak of the wagons, the smell of wet leather and mule, the same jokes repeated at every mile marker. It is boring. It is routine. That is exactly what everyone believes on the morning of the first day. Your general is Publius Quinctilius Varus, not a soldier's soldier, a lawyer, a politician, married into the emperor's family. He made his name governing Syria, where the provinces were tame and the taxes flowed. He treats Germania the same way, like a province that has already been conquered. Taxes, courtrooms, Roman law read aloud to chieftains standing in the mud. You have watched those chieftains listen to him in silence, arms crossed, rain running off their beards, and you have wondered what is behind their eyes. But Varus is not worried, because Varus has Arminius. Arminius, prince of the Cherusci, taken from his tribe as a boy and raised in Rome itself. He grew up on Roman streets, learned Roman letters, trained in Roman camps. He led auxiliary cavalry in Rome's wars and did it so well that the empire granted him citizenship, and then rank, the rank of an equestrian, a Roman knight. He speaks to you in perfect Latin. He knows the drills, the signals, the marching order. He drinks at your general's table, and Varus trusts him the way you trust a man you made with your own hands. Rome built him. That is the part they will never stop repeating for centuries. Rome built him. When word arrives of a small tribal uprising to the west, it is Arminius who suggests the route. Nothing dramatic, just a detour, a shortcut through the forest, deal with the rebels, then continue on to the Rhine. Varus doesn't even order the men into battle readiness. Why would he? This is a police action, not a war. The wives and children of the camp will come along, the baggage train, the servants, the merchants, the whole rolling city of the legions. And here is the moment that will haunt Rome for 100 years. The night before the column turns, a Germanic noble named Segestes comes to Varus in private. Segestes knows the tribes. Segestes hates Arminius. The man stole his daughter and married her against his will. And Segestes tells the general plainly, to his face, Arminius is lying to you. The tribes are united. The uprising is bait. Arrest him tonight. Arrest me too if you must. And wait, and you will see the truth. Varus laughs it off. Family rivals, he thinks. Bad blood between in-laws. He would rather insult a rival than doubt a friend. The warning that could have saved 20,000 lives is dismissed at a dinner table, between courses. You never hear about it. You just get the order at dawn. The column turns north, into the trees. The Teutoburg is not like the forests of Italy. The canopy closes over the track like a lid, and the light that reaches you is green and dim, the light of a place that has never been cleared, never been farmed, never been Roman. The path narrows until 4 men cannot walk abreast, so the column stretches and stretches. Soldiers, then engineers, then wagons, then mule drivers, then wives carrying children, then merchants, then more soldiers. A thin ribbon of Rome pulled 10 kilometers long through a place with no horizon and no way to turn around. Then the rain starts. Not a storm, something worse. Endless, cold, soaking rain that turns the track to swamp. Wagon wheels sink to the axle and have to be hauled out by hand. Your shield doubles in weight as the leather cover drinks the water. Your boots pull loose from the mud with a sound like the ground is chewing. Somewhere ahead, trees have fallen across the path. Strange, you think. How many trees have fallen? And the column halts and starts and halts again. Orders take an hour to travel from the front to the rear. You are no longer an army. You are a queue. That is when you notice Arminius and his auxiliary cavalry are gone. Riding ahead, someone says. Scouting the route, gathering allied tribesmen to come help. He is gathering tribesmen. That much is true.
The first javelin comes out of the tree line without a sound of warning. Then 100 more. They fall out of the rain onto men packed so tightly they cannot raise their shields, and the screaming starts in 3 places at once, far apart, so that no one can even say where the attack is. By the time the order to form up crawls down the column, the forest has already gone quiet again. The attackers are gone. They took the wounded's screams with them. This is how the first day dies. Not one battle, 100 small ones. The enemy strikes wherever the column is thinnest, kills for 2 minutes, and dissolves back into the trees before any formation can answer. Roman warfare needs open ground, straight lines, room to swing and lock shields. The forest gives you none of it. You are the finest heavy infantry on earth, and in here, you might as well be armored cattle. That night, the legions do the most Roman thing imaginable. Exhausted, bleeding, soaked to the bone, they build a fortified camp anyway. Ditch, rampart, palisade, watch rotations. The drill holds even when nothing else does. And inside those walls, around fires that won't stay lit, you finally hear the officers say out loud what everyone already knows. The tribes knew the route. They knew the timing. They knew where the track narrows and where the ground turns to bog. They were waiting. There was no uprising. The shortcut was the trap. And the man who designed it is the man who ate at your general's table. Arminius is not missing. Arminius is out there, in the dark, commanding. The betrayal is total, and it is precise. He didn't just deceive Varus. He weaponized everything Rome ever taught him. He knew the marching order because he helped plan it. He knew the legions are unbeatable in formation, so he chose ground where formation is impossible. He knew Roman discipline, Roman signals, Roman minds. Rome raised its own executioner, gave him citizenship, pinned honors on his chest, and then followed him into the woods. On the morning of the second day, Varus makes his last real decision as a commander, and it is actually a good one. Burn the wagons. Abandon the baggage, abandon the loot, strip down to weapons and rations, and push hard for open country. For a few hours it almost works. The trees thin, the attacks slacken. The Germans keep their distance from ground where the legions can breathe. Men start to talk about the Rhine. Hope is a dangerous drug, and the column drinks deep. Then the track bends back into the woods, into a narrow corridor between a wooded hill and an endless bog. The rain returns as if it had been ordered, and through the trees, you see something that stops your heart. A wall. The Germans have built a rampart, earth and sand and timber, hundreds of meters long, threaded between the trunks along the hillside. They did not improvise this ambush. They engineered a killing ground, days or weeks in advance, on the exact path Arminius promised to deliver you to. The trap was never the forest. The trap is here, and you are already inside it.
What happens in that corridor is not a battle in any sense Rome would recognize. Warriors pour over the wall into a column that has nowhere to go. Bog on one side, rampart on the other. Thousands of human beings compressed into a space where a sword arm barely has room to move. Soldiers try to storm the rampart and are thrown back. The cavalry commander gathers his horsemen and abandons the infantry, riding for the Rhine. The forest takes him too. Somewhere in that chaos, Publius Quinctilius Varus, the man who was warned at a dinner table and laughed, looks at the wound in his side and understands there is no third morning for him. He falls on his own sword, the same death his father chose in another lost cause a generation before. His officers try to burn the body so the enemy cannot take it. They take it anyway. His head is cut from his shoulders and sent from tribe to tribe like a trophy. By the third day, there are no legions anymore. There are clusters of survivors fighting back to back in the mud, shrinking one man at a time. Some break and run into the trees, and the trees swallow them. Some surrender, and if you are captured, you learn that dying in the ranks was the mercy. The tribes drag Roman officers to altars in the sacred groves and sacrifice them to gods whose names you never learned. Skulls are nailed to the trees, eyes are put out, and a handful of prisoners are kept, sold, traded, worked. 40 years from now, Roman soldiers campaigning in Germania will still be finding old men in the villages, gray and broken, who whisper to them in rusted Latin, "I was there. I was the 18th. Out of 3 legions, out of that 10-kilometer column of soldiers, drivers, wives, and children, almost no one crosses back over the Rhine.
When the news reaches Rome, the city panics in a way it has not panicked in living memory. There are only 28 legions in the entire empire. 3 of them have just been erased in 4 days. Augustus dismisses his own Germanic bodyguard overnight, no longer able to look at them. Watches are posted in the streets of Rome itself, as if the tribes might somehow appear at the gates. And the emperor, the most powerful man on earth, the man who ended a century of civil war, does not respond like an emperor. Witnesses say he refused to cut his hair or beard for months, and that he would strike his head against the doorposts of the palace, screaming the same 5 words into the empty halls. "Varus, give me back my legions." But Rome cannot give them back. And now the ending, because this story does not end in the forest. 6 years later, in the year 15, a Roman army under Germanicus, the emperor's own adopted grandson, fights its way back into Germania. The soldiers ask permission to visit the site, and so 8 legions walk into the Teutoburg in full battle order, and find it exactly as it was left. Bleached bones cover the ground, scattered where men fled, heaped in lines where units made their final stands. Broken javelins and horse skeletons still lie in the mud. The skulls are still nailed to the trees. Survivors of the disaster, now serving in the new army, walk the field pointing with shaking hands. Here is where the eagles were taken. Here is where the tribunes were sacrificed. Here is the rampart. Here is where Varus fell. And then 25,000 Roman soldiers put down their weapons and begin to dig, not knowing whose bones they are lifting. Brother, stranger, kin. They bury all of them together in one grave and raise a mound of earth over 3 lost legions. Germanicus lays the first turf with his own hands. In the years that follow, Rome claws back what it can. 2 of the 3 stolen eagle standards are recovered in raids deep into Germania. The third takes 32 years to come home, recovered at last in the reign of Claudius, from a tribe still keeping it as a trophy a generation later. Rome never stopped looking. That is how much an eagle meant. And yet, Rome went on for centuries more. It raised new legions, forged new eagles, reused every number in its army again and again for 1,000 years of war. Except 3. No 17th Legion ever marched again. No 18th, no 19th. The most powerful empire in human history looked at those 3 numbers and could not bring itself to speak them, as if the forest still held them, somewhere under that mound, in the rain. If you want to stand inside another moment when an empire learned it could bleed, the next story is on your screen now. The door is open. Step through.